about the unseen forces that linger in the shadowy corners while you're oblivious. Imagine this: a routine Friday evening in the tranquil suburbs. A cluster of friends, balancing precariously between adolescence and adulthood, cherishing the waning vestiges of their childhood, choose to host the setting. An antiquated Victorian manor, its dank, dimly lit basement a silent witness to countless tales, secrets and laughter. In daylight, it was their haven. But as gave way to the moon's reign, a concealed, insidious terror began to slither in, transforming their sanctuary into a hunting ground for the unexplained. As suspenseful night unfurled, the friends huddled, their features ghostly in the fluttering radiance of a lone candle. The atmosphere thickened, permeated not merely with the scent of humid soil and aged timber, but also an incomprehensible sense of unease. An icy shiver raced down their backs, their skin prickled, and a pervasive sense of dread claimed the room. Unfamiliar, eerie sounds began to reverberate. A floorboard under no weight, leaves rustling in the basement devoid of windows, whispers seeming to originate from the walls. Inanimate objects seemed to defy the laws of physics. A tome toppling from its perch, a plaything sliding across the room, a firmly latched door groaning open. Each incident, inexplicable, adding another layer to the escalating horror. An ominous feeling of being scrutinized from the dark corners, an invisible entity that seemed to gain power as the night advanced. Attempts to rationalize were made, to dismiss it with laughter, but the sheer terror mirrored in their eyes narrated a contrary tale. As the night deepened, so did the terror, casting a long shadow over their spirits. The earlier effervescence replaced by a smothering silence, punctuated sporadically by a startled gasp or a stifled cry. Every friend found themselves ensnared in the paralyzing grip of fear, minds whirling with nightmares of the unseen menace lurking in the obsidian abyss. What started as an evening of camaraderie metamorphosed into a nightmarish experience, a chilling tale of unseen supernatural terror, a memory that would be indelibly etched into there forever. As the night grew darker, the terror seemed to grow stronger, engulfing the friends in a vortex of abject fear. Consider this: what if the usual play of shadows on your wall wasn't just an illusion? Let's set the stage, a sleepover like any other, brimming with laughter, vibrant anecdotes, and the comforting bond of friends. Yet this ordinary night was on the precipice of plunging into the realm of the inexplicable. Our tale unfolds in a room, bathed in a dim, otherworldly light, with friends gathered around a single lamp casting long, eerie shadows. They traded stories of their day, their voices a soothing hum, wrapping the room in a blanket of camaraderie and warmth. In this dimly lit room, the walls were adorned with faded wallpaper and an old wooden clock ticking away the seconds. The flickering lamp, a vintage piece, sat on a round table in the middle, throwing distorted shadows that danced and twirled on the ceiling and walls. But as they reveled in their shared narratives, one of them spotted an anomaly. A shadow, richer in darkness than the rest, lodged in the room's corner. This shadow was a peculiar entity, its movements unlike any other. It seemed to ripple and shift, a dark liquid flowing on the wall, independent of the wavering lamp's light or the friend's movements. A chill raced down the spine of the one who chanced upon it first. He nudged his companions, his eyes wide with dread. Their roars of laughter died down as they followed his gaze. Nested in the corner was a shadow that unnervingly mirrored a human form. A collective gasp hung heavy in the air. Armed with scientific reasoning and grim determination, they decided to confront it, rationalize it, explain away. They scoured the room, moved the furniture, even tried blocking the light source with their bodies. But the shadow remained, its form solid, its presence a haunting reality. Each stroke of light that they attempted to shed on it only magnified its enigmatic form, making it more prominent, more dreadful. The understanding crept on them. This wasn't just it seemed sentient, pulsating with a life of its own. The room fell into an oppressive silence and their hearts throbbed heavily, a distressing echo reverberating in the stillness. The shadow seemed to respond to their fear, its form solidifying, growing more ominous. They huddled together, their cheerful banter now replaced with hushed whispers of worry. They questioned their perceptions, their reality. Was this a bizarre trick of the light? a figment of their overactive imagination? Or did the shadow harbor a darker secret? The suspense hung in the air like a thick fog, amplifying every creak of the old house, every rustle of leaves outside. They could feel weight of the shadow's gaze, a silent, watchful entity amidst them. Their safe space had now become the dwelling of a presence they couldn't fathom, couldn't flee. Sleep was a forgotten luxury. Their minds buzzed with unanswered questions, their bodies rigid with fear. The room was drenched in a chilling stillness, punctuated only by their ragged breaths and the relentless ticking of the old clock. The friends spent the remainder of the night huddled together, their eyes fixated on the shadow in the corner, keeping vigil until dawn. As long as the darkness prevailed, their uninvited guest remained. A bone-chilling reminder that sometimes the things we neglect, the shadows we dismiss, may harbor realities far beyond our comprehension. And thus, they waited. Waited for the first rays of the sun to dispel their fear, to erase the ominous shadow in the corner. But until then, they were captives in their sanctuary, ensnared under the vigilant eyes of the shadow that was more than just a shadow. What if a night of innocent amusement with comrades transformed into an eternal horror? Picture this scenario. It was an average Friday night, the ambience filled with jovial laughter and the aroma of buttery popcorn. A close-knit group of friends convened for a sleepover, their moods uplifted, blissfully ignorant that their evening of cheer was about to enter a horrific ordeal. The gathering place, an antiquated Victorian house, had always been a captivating enigma for them. Its towering, dominating structure, with its shadowy windows and old-world woodwork, appeared to harbor unsolved mysteries that enticed them. Little did they anticipate those mysteries to come alive with a vengeance. As the clock ticked, their mirth began to taper off. The doors that once greeted them with a friendly squeak now stood obstinately closed. The windows, which had bestowed on them a view of the world beyond, now seemed sealed shut. Their desperate pleas for aid reverberated through the vacant corridors, answered by nothingness. They were ensnared. The chilling truth of their circumstance began to set in, instilling a bone-chilling fear that slowly crawled up their spines. They clustered together in the living room, their eyes furtively scanning the dim corners, their hearts throbbing in unison, a percussion ensemble of dread. The house, once a haven of youth and camaraderie, now was akin to an inescapable prison, the walls inching closer, stifling their dwindling expectation of liberation. Every creak, every rustling noise, every whisper of the wind served as a freezing reminder of their captivity. Then, the inexplicable materialized, a fleeting movement at the edge of their vision, an icy breath grazing the nape of their necks, the sound of footsteps reverberating from an unknown source. The house was alive, and it them captive. The fear escalated. Objects seemed to have a life of their own, moving sporadically. Doors would slam shut with a thunderous bang, only to fling open the very next second. Lights glowed on and off unpredictably, casting spine-tingling shadows that danced ominously on the aging walls. Hours seemed to morph into days in their terror-stricken state. Their nightmarish ordeal appeared to be unending, an eternal twilight of dread that rejected the soothing rays of dawn. Then, as abruptly as it began, it ceased. The doors swung open freely. The windows admitted the golden morning light. Their pleas for help were finally answered by the anxious expressions of their parents, who had been frantically searching for them through the night. Exhausted, terrified, yet grateful, they staggered out of the house, the relief radiating off them. They glanced back one final time at the old Victorian, its imposing structure now seemingly harmless in the morning glow. But they knew the truth. They knew the malevolent force that resided within its walls. They remained silent about that fateful night henceforth, the night their sleepover evolved into an everlasting nightmare. Sleepovers, a time for laughter, stories, and sometimes unexplainable horror. Tonight we've journeyed through a trio of true, terrifying tales, each one more chilling than the last. Our first story took us into a night of unseen terror. It was a tale of an ordinary sleepover turned into a nightmarish saga, as an invisible entity wreaked havoc upon a group of unsuspecting teenagers. The unexplained phenomena that unfolded that night, the objects moving of their own accord, the unsettling whispers in the dark, left a lingering sense of dread that still haunts those involved. Next, we delved into the shadow in the corner, A tale of a sleepover that took a dark turn when a seemingly harmless shadow began to move and morph into terrifying shapes. The fear experienced by the children as they watched the shadow dance and contort was palpable, a terror that lingers to this day. The shadow was never explained, and the mystery of its existence continues to cast a long, unsettling shadow over their memories. Our final story led us to a sleepover that never ended. A group of friends found themselves trapped in a loop of fear and confusion, waking up to the same terrifying day over and over again. The sense of being stuck in a never-ending nightmare has left a profound impact on their lives, making every night a haunting reminder of the sleepover that seemed to last an eternity. These stories serve as a grim reminder that the world is full of unexplained phenomena, of things that lurk in the shadows, of nights that stretch into an unending loop of terror. The chilling events that unfolded during these sleepovers have left an indelible imprint on the lives of those involved, a haunting memory that follows them even to this day. Next time you plan a sleepover, remember these tales of unseen terror, dancing shadows, and never-ending nightmares. Sweet dreams.